Multiplication as scaling. What does that mean? Well, it's basically like using mental math to estimate, and you'll see what I mean. All right, so on page 500 in our book, we have a little scenario here about Sue. Sue knitted scarves that are 4 feet long for herself and her friends Joe and Alan. After a month, they compared the lengths of their scarves. Some scarves had stretched and some had shrunk. The results are shown in the chart. How had the lengths of Joe's and Alan's scarves changed? Okay, so here's Sue, and her scarf is still 4 feet long. And let's pretend this is her scarf. I didn't exactly measure it, but let's say this is 4 feet long, and that's hers, and hers stays the same length. No, I did not crochet that, but somebody did crochet it, and it was a gift. I've got goals to make one of those. Okay, so Joe, his stretched, so it's not 4 feet anymore. It's 4 times 1.5, or 1.5 of 4. Remember, the multiplication symbol can mean of when we're dealing with fractions. And then Alan's scarf is 3/4 of the 4 feet. So I'm going to show you the trick in a minute, but let's take a look at these two scenarios here. So here's Alan's scarf, and his is the one that is 3/4 of 4 feet. So if we're looking at the number line here, if Sue's scarf stays 4 feet, right? She's real gentle with it, doesn't shrink, doesn't stretch, anything. She takes real good care of it. Hers is 4 feet. And if Alan's is 3/4 of her 4, it's less. So it's, if you had to split his scarf into 4 1-foot sections, there'd be 1, 2, 3, 4 of them, but his is only 3/4 of that whole scarf that was 4 feet altogether. So his is less. So 3/4 of 4 is less than 4. So his shrunk. And then if we look at Joe, his scarf is 1.5 times 4 feet. So that's greater than 4. Sue's scarf again is here. It stayed at 4 feet long. But Joe's scarf is 1.5 times what it originally was. So it's longer. And of course, we can do the loop-de-loop method to figure out what this is. If we wanted to, do some calculations and raise that up to prove it. But an easy way to looking at it, and this is where my little trick comes in handy, just in your own head, if you have 4 feet here and you've got 4 feet and you're multiplying the 4 by a number that's less than 1, which 3/4 is less than 1, then this is going to be lower than the initial 4, which is why we have a less than sign. But here, if we're multiplying 4 times a number that's greater than 1, 1.5, well, this is going to be greater than just 4 by itself. So if we come over to page 501 and do a few examples, right here, we're looking for either less than, greater than, or equal to. So we notice that we've got 1 2/3 here and 1 2/3 here. So if that's all we had, they'd be equal. However, we're multiplying 1 2/3 times 2.5. Since 2.5 is greater than 1, this whole side here is going to be greater than 1 2/3. So we put greater than sign. And then if we come over to number 7 as another example, we've got 4 4/5 and 4 4/5. Okay, so if we were going to do 4 4/5 times 1, they'd be equal. But this is less than 1, so it's 3/5 of this amount. So it's going, this side is less than the 4 4/5 by itself. In number 8 over here, we've got 1 2/7 on this side and 1 2/7 on this side. If we look at 5/5, if we take 1 2/7 times 5/5, isn't this just like the whole world in his hands? He's got 5/5 of the world in his hands. This is one whole, right? So if you multiply anything times 1, it is itself. So this is in fact equal, because 1 2/7 times 1 is still 1 2/7. And if we compare that to 1 2/7, it's equal. So take a look at the other videos that I'm posting today, or referring you to my class for Envision, and check those out. Those will also help you to solidify this concept.